afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are good. My name is Nitish, and I am a consultant trainer at Samchana Consultancy Service from the last 5 years. Today, in this webinar session, we are going to discuss on the topic understanding concept of data warehouse. So let us first discuss about the what is data warehouse. So data warehouse is the repository where an organization electronically stores the data by extracting it from the operational system and making it available for ad hoc queries and schedule reporting. It is a great way to store your data so that it is easy to access and analyze. And it is the perfect for business that want to make the better decision using their data. We can also use the powerful analytic tool to get the insight into your business that you never thought possible. Today in this session we will discuss about the what is data warehouse, what is data, what is the advantage of structured data, what is the types of data warehouse architecture, and in the last we will discuss about the component of data warehouse architecture. Fine. Now let us first discuss about the data warehouse. Data warehouse, as we discussed now, it is the data repository structured for reporting and analysis. It contains your historical data that has been cleaned and transformed to meet the need of the business. So here the business intelligence tool uses to allow the user to perform the complex data analysis. Business intelligence tools, it include your reporting tool like online analytical processing, queue, dashboard, and it can be used for the reporting and analysis purpose also. It stores all data and also use the real-time data to generate the business report. If I talk about the future of this data warehouse, so it is a system that stores the big data, and it is used to store and manage the large amount of information about the business operation, and the aims of this warehouse is to provide the fact access to the most relevant information for the decision making. It can be created using the relational database management system, that is your RDBMS, or you can say OLAP. The meaning of OLAP is your online analytical processing tool. So here the RDBMS include your MySQL, Oracle database, and the Microsoft SQL server. Some of the example of online analytical processing tool, it include your Congo TM1 and Hyperion S-Base. So these are sometimes also called the enterprise data warehouse because they help the company to make the decision at all the level of the organization. According to the data warehouse definition, it is the central repository of the data that is stored from the extensive range of source within an enterprise, and it is a technology that combines your structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data from the single or multiple source in order to deliver a unified view of data to the analyst and the business user for improved business intelligence. So therefore we can say that it is used for the analytical and business reporting purpose, which help in keeping the past record and analyzing the data to optimize business operation. So data warehouse was coined by the Bill Inman in 1990, and he had defined that a data warehouse is a subject-oriented, integrated, time-variant, non-volatile collection of data in support of management decision-making process. What is the meaning? When you will read this, you will find all these terms. What is the meaning of subject-oriented? Now, the meaning of subject-oriented is that here the data gives the information about the particular subject instead of about the company ongoing operation. Integrated means here the data that is gathered into the data warehouse from a variety of sources and merge it into the one databases. Now third, we have the time variant. So all the data in the warehouses is identified with the particular time period, and we have the non-volatile collection of the data. What does it mean? It means that here the data is stable in the data warehouse and more data can be added, but here the data can never be removed. So this enables the management to gain the consistent picture of the pages. Fine. Now moving to the next, we are discussing about the data warehouses, right? We are storing the data into your warehouses. Now looking to this, right? So when we look to this picture, you can see that we have the data from the different sources. We have the CRM, billing, ERP, flat file, right? And the different sources. And it is all the data from the different sources is extracted, transformed, and loaded by the ETL tool into the data warehouses. After that, as per the requirement, as per the need, we use the data for the reporting purpose, analytic process, and data mining. So we are discussing about the data, right? Data is stored in the data warehouse. But what is data? First we have to understand that. Now coming to the data here. So data is the foundation of your data warehouse, we can say like that, and it is the material on which all the analyses are based. It is a distinct piece of information that is gathered and translated for some purpose. So here the data can be available in the different forms such as bits and bytes and stored in the electronic memory, number, or the text on the piece of paper, or you can say even the fact stored in the person mind. And so the data is a collection of facts such as the number, word, measurement, observation, and just the description of the thing, you can say. So data can be in the any form, means either it can be the text, numeric, image, and in the PDF form. So means any piece of information, we call it as a data. So data is a collection of your recorded value from which the information can be discovered. Now what is the difference between your data and information? So data is your collection of value, and those value can be character, number, or any other data type. So if those values are processed, so they have the little meaning to a human. So what is information then? So information is the data that is processed so a human can read, understand, and use it. Information inform you of something means it is the answer of a specific question that represents the specific truth or fact. For example, if anyone is asking you the question like that, what is the temperature outside of this room? So here the data provides the basics for the answer to that question. Suppose anyone is saying that okay, temperature is 25.6 degrees Celsius, right? So to understanding this fact, they should have the knowledge of what is the meaning of temperature, what is the degree Celsius, right, to process the information, right? Now coming to the structured data. So data is categorized into your structured data and unstructured data. So what is your structured data? So the data which is to be the point, factual, and the highly organized is referred to the structured data. It is quantitative in nature, that is, it is related to the quantities. That means it contains the measurable numerical value like number, dates, and time. And it is easy to search and analyze the structured data, and here the structured data exists in the predefined format. So as we know, the relational database consisting of the table with the rows and columns, which is one of the best example of the structured data. So structured data is generally exists in the table like the Excel file and the Google Docs spreadsheet. Here the programming language like SQL. SQL means structured query language that is used for the managing the structured data. So SQL is developed by the IBM in the 1970 and it is majorly used to handle the relational database and the warehouses. So here the structured data is highly organized and understandable for the machine language. Some of the common applications of this relational database with the structured data include your sales transaction, airline reservation system, inventory control and the others. My audio is not coming. I think I am audible. Now coming to the unstructured data. Unstructured data is the data that lacks in any predefined model or format, and it requires a lot of storage space and it is hard. Yeah, I am audible. Okay, thank you. It is hard to maintain the security in it, so it cannot be presented in a data model. So that's why managing, analyzing or searching for the structured data is hard. Fine. So it resides in the various different format, like you can say text, image, audio and video file. It is qualitative in the nature and sometimes it is stored in the non-relational database, or sometimes we call it as a non-SQL also. And it is not stored in your relational databases. So it is hard for the computer and human to interpret it. The limitation of the unstructured data include the requirement of the data science expert and the specialized tool to manipulate your data. Here the amount of unstructured data is much more than the structured or the semi-structured data. Some of the example of the human generated unstructured data are the text file, the email, social media, right, mobile data, business application, right. So these are comes under the unstructured data that is generated by the human. Some of the unstructured data that is generated by the machine are your satellite image, scientific data, sensor data and the digital surveillance data. Fine. Now next we will discuss about the advantage of structured data. So few of the advantage of unstructured data are easily used by machine learning algorithm. So the largest benefit of this structured data is how easily it can be used by the machine learning, and the specific and the organized nature of structured data allow for the easy manipulation and querying of the data, easily used by the business user. So here the another benefit of your structured data is that it can be used by the average business user with an understanding of the topic to which the data relate. So there is no need to have an in-depth understanding of the various different types of the data and the relationship of that data. So it opens up self-service data to access to the business user. Third, we have the increased access to the more tools. Fine. So here the structured data also has the benefit of having in use for the longer period of time. This means that there are more tools that have been tried and tested in using and analyzing the structured data. So here the data manager have more product choice when using this structured data. Now fourth, we have the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Right. So here the human are, as you know, we the human being are very good at interpreting what we see, what we hear and what we read. But what about the computer? Computer are not good at that. So they still need the explicit information from the human. So here the structured data is a huge step toward enabling the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and it provides the semantic meaning needed for the computer to interpret what content is about and connect it properly to the related content. Here the machine learn by the reading data, identifying pattern and making the decision with the minimal human intervention. Right? So without the structure, all these things will take a longer amount of time and the more human intervention in order for the machine to learn and build the intelligence successfully. And the last advantage, we have the better site performance. So by implementing the structured data, you are more likely to set up for the higher click through rate, that is your CTR. So here the more attention is drawn to your content when it is discovered, means it increase your CTR. CTR means click through rate, and more people viewing your content means that likelihood of them taking an action can also increase. So here the structuring your content also means that you have also got a chance to win the rich snippet and the feature snippet on the search engine like the Google, and appearing the more prominently at the top of the result as the trusted answer to the user query. Now next we will discuss about the types of the data warehouse architecture. So a typical data warehouse architecture defines the arrangement of the data in the different databases. As the data must be organized and cleaned to be valuable in the modern data warehouse structure that identifies the dimensional model identify the most effective technique for extracting the information from the raw data. So using the dimensional model, the raw data is the staging area that is extracted and converted into a simple consumable warehousing structure to deliver a valuable business intelligence. When designing a corporate data warehouse, there are three different types of model to consider here. So first one is your single tier data warehouse architecture. Second, we have the multi-tier data warehouse architecture, and the third we have the three-tier architecture for a data warehouse. So let us first discuss about the single tier data warehouse architecture. So here the structure of a single tier data warehouse architecture produce a dense set of data and reduce. Okay, I am audible. Okay, fine. So data warehouse architecture, it produces a dense set of the data and reduce the volume of the deposited data. So this type of warehouse design is not suitable for the business with the complex data requirement and numerous data streams. Here the figure shows only the layer physically available is the source layer, and in this method the data warehouses are virtual. This means that the data warehouse is implemented as the multi-dimensional view of operational data that is created by the specific middleware, or you can say intermediate processing layer. Now the second we have the two-tier data warehouse architecture. Fine. So in comparison, the data structure of the two-tier data warehouse model split the tangible data source from the warehouse itself. Unlike the single tier data warehouse, here the two-tier design use a system and the database server here. Here the small organization where the server is used as a data mart, and it is more efficient at the data storage and organization. The two-tier structure is not scalable and it only supports a nominal number of users. So here we have the different type of layer. So first we have the source layer in this two-tier data warehouse architecture. So what does this source layer mean? So here the data warehouse system uses a heterogeneous source of data, and this data is stored initially to the corporate relational database or legacy database, or it may come from the information system outside the corporate wall. So for this source layer, right, we have the four stages. So first one is your data staging. Fine. So what is your data staging? So data staging, the data that is stored to the source should be extracted, cleaned and integrated to merge the heterogeneous source into the one standard schema. So So here we use the ETL tool, that is your extraction, transformation and loading tool, that combine the heterogeneous data and extract, transform, clean and validate it, and it also filter and load the data into the source data into the data warehouses. After that we have the data warehouse layer. Here in the data warehouse layer, the information is saved to a one logically centralized individual repository, that is your data warehouse. So a data warehouse can be directly accessed, but it can also be used as the source for creating the data mart, which partially replicate the data warehouse content, and that is designed for the specific enterprise department. So here the metadata repository store the information on the source, access procedure, data staging, user and the data mart schema. Last we have the analysis here. So in this layer, the data is integrated efficiently and it can be accessed flexibly to issue the report. Dynamically, it also dynamically analyzes the information and simulate the hypothetical business scenario. It should feature the aggregate information navigator, complex query optimizer and customer friendly graphical user interface. Now coming to the third three-tier architecture for a data warehouse system. So here the three-tier data warehouse architecture type is most common type of modern data warehouse design, as it produces a well-organized data flow from the raw information to the valuable insight. So here the bottom tier in the data warehouse model typically comprise the data bank server that create sorry okay so that create an abstraction layer on the data from the numerous sources like transactional data bank that utilize for the front end usage. So here the middle tier include an online analytical processing, that is OLAP, fine, server. So this level alter the data into the more suitable arrangement for the analysis and multifaceted probing from a user perspective. So since it includes the OLAP server that is pre-built in the architecture, and we can also call it as the OLAP focused data warehouse. The third and the topmost tier is the client level, which includes the tools and the application programming interface, that is your API, that is used for the high level data analysis, inquiring and reporting. So three-tier architecture consists of the source layer which containing the multiple source system, and reconciled layer and the data warehouse layer that is containing of both the data warehouses and data marts. So here the reconciled layer lies between the source data and the data warehouse. The main advantage of the reconciled layer is that it creates a standard reference of the data model for the whole enterprises. At the same time, it separates the problem of source data extraction and integration from those of the data warehouse population. In some cases, the reconciled layer is also directly used to accomplish the better some operational tasks, such as producing the daily report that cannot be satisfactorily prepared using the corporate application, or generating the data flow to feed the external process periodically to benefit from cleaning and integration. So this architecture is especially useful for expensive enterprise system. So now, this is all about the type of the data warehouse architecture. Coming to the next component of the data warehouse architecture. So there are few components of the data warehouse. So first we have the data warehouse databases. So here the central component of a data warehouse architecture is a database that stores all the enterprise data and make it manageable for the reporting. So this means that you need to choose which kind of databases you all use to store the data in your data warehouses. Second, we have the ETL, that is your ETL means extraction, transformation and loading. Fine. But before that, in this data warehouses, we have total 4 type of databases. So first one is your typical relational databases, right? So typical relational databases are the root-centered databases that is used on the everyday basis. For example, we can say Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle and the IBM databases. The second, we have the analytical databases. So analytical databases are developed for the data storage to sustain and manage the analytics such as Teradata and Greenplum. Third, we have data warehouse application. So data warehouse application are not exactly the storage database, but it's several dealers now offer the application that offer a software for the data management as well as the hardware for storing the data. Fine. And the fourth, we have the cloud-based databases. So cloud-based database can be based and hosted and retrieved on the cloud so that you don't have to procure any hardware to set up your data warehouses. For example, we can say the Amazon Redshift, Google BigQuery and the Microsoft Azure SQL. Second, we have the ETL that we have to discuss. ETL means extraction, transformation, loading tool. So here the ETL tool are the central component of an enterprise data warehouse design, and this tool help to extract the data from the different sources and transform it into the suitable arrangement and load it into a different data warehouses. So some of the ETL tool determine the time expended in the data extraction. It also determine this ETL tool determine the approaches to the extracting data. It also determines the kinds of transformation applied and the simplicity of the doing. It also determine ETL also determine, you can say, filling the mislead data. Fine. Now, so coming to your next, the third one, that is the metadata. So in a typical data warehouses architecture, the metadata describes the data database and offer a framework for the data. It helps in constructing, preserving, handling and making use of the data warehouses. Fine. Fourth, we have the data warehouse access tool. So data warehouse use a database or the group of database as the foundation. So here the data warehouse corporation generally cannot work with the database without the use of the tool unless they have the database administration available. So however, it is not the case with all the business unit. It is highly why they use the assistance of the several no-code data warehousing tools, such as we have the query and reporting tool, application development tool, data mining tool for data warehousing and OLAP tool. Now last we have the data warehouse bus. So data warehouse bus, it defines the data flow within a data warehousing bus architecture, and it includes a data mart. So here the data mart is an access level that allows the user to transfer the data, and it is also used for the parsoning the data that is produced for a particular user group. Now in the last I will discuss about the benefit of data warehouses. So we have the few benefit as it saves the time. So in the modern fast-paced world of cutthroat competition, here the capacity of the business is swiftly make the refined business is essential to outpace your opponent. Fine. So with the data warehousing, your business will not have to rely on the 24/7 availability of a technical expert to troubleshoot the problem associated with the retrieving information. Right? So in this way we can save the plenty of the time. Second, we have to improve the business intelligence. So here the refined quality of the data help the granting that your company policies are based on the precise information about your corporate exertion. So by understanding the data warehouse meaning, you can transform the data from the multiple source into a shared arrangement, and you can ensure that the reliability and the quality of your corporate data are here also. So this way you can identify and remove the replicated data and the poorly recorded data, and if there is any error in the data also, you can remove that and you can improve that. Third, we have improve the data quality. Okay, now we will discuss the lead to data consistency. So another important point of this lead to data consistency is that, so another important benefit of using this central data store is to evenness of the big data. So here your business can benefit from the data storage or the data mart in a similar arrangement. As a data warehouse store large amount of data from a diverse source, such as you can say a transactional system in a consistent fashion, and here the each source will generate the outcome that are synchronized with the other source. So this guarantee inform the quality and improve the quality and the consistency of the data. Fine. So this is all about the today's session. Thank you everyone, and thank you for joining the session. Have a